Hi everybody, my name is Victoria and today I am here with you for a book review for The Bride Test by Helen Hoang. I can't help but feeling like I need to make a disclaimer before I review this book. I am not a romance reader by trade. I think this might be my first romance book that I've ever read that could be considered like an adult contemporary romance. So just know I have nothing to compare this to. So with that said, let's talk about this book. Helen Hoang previously came out with The Kiss Quotient last year, and that book was just loved by everyone, especially here on BookTube. And so when I saw that she had a second kind of companion novel to The Kiss Quotient, I decided to start here. Now, you do not have to read The Kiss Quotient to pick up this book. I know because I have not read The Kiss Quotient, and I did just fine. There is just a little bit of overlap, more that you get to see some of the same characters for just a brief moment that are also in The Kiss Quotient. So that's the only overlap. So if you haven't read The Kiss Quotient, it's totally fine. So this book follows our two main characters, Kai and Esme. And Kai is a young Vietnamese American living in California. I believe it's set in Northern California, like San Francisco area. Kai has autism and he is very socially awkward. He is not quite sure how to navigate social situations, and he definitely does not know how to navigate women and talk to women. So his mother, being a good Vietnamese mom that she is, she decides to go to Vietnam and find a woman to bring back to America, and she sets up Kai with Esme. She finds Esme in a bathroom. She is a cleaning lady, and so she finds Esme actually cleaning the bathrooms, and something just strikes her about Esme that she's gonna be maybe a good fit for Kai, and she has good principles and knows how to work hard. And Esme is very much kind of a down on her luck kind of girl. She has very little confidence in herself. She takes care of her family and they just don't have very much, and so Esme kind of sees a chance to go to America, and her family pushes her to do it, even though she's hesitant to do it at first. But her family is like, you would be stupid not to take this chance to go to America. So I really liked this book overall. I rated this 4 stars out of 5, and there's a few reasons why I think that this stands out from some other romance books that might be out there. One of those reasons is the character depth overall. Not only is this book about Kai and his struggles with autism and navigating love through his autism, it's also about Esme. In fact, almost more so about Esme, because Esme is an immigrant, and we really get to see the contrast between what Kai takes for granted in America and the things that Esme strives for, and the things that Esme really wants to bring to her family, and America just is that dream place for her. Esme originally thinks that Kai is going to bring her that security and happiness, but what I loved about this book is that Esme really grows in her own confidence and believing that she is an intelligent woman. And of course, alongside that, you have Kai, who is learning that he is capable of love, and not only capable of love, but if he really works at it, he can also communicate love. Kai is an interesting character because deep down, Kai knows that he can care about people. But what stops Kai from really loving someone is his inability to communicate it, or his lack of understanding of how to communicate that he cares for someone. And so because of that, Kai has basically sworn off marriage completely and sworn off any kind of relationship. He's just happy alone in his apartment, and that's how he wants to live his life. The way that these characters really grow together, I thought was really beautiful and very sweet. I just thought that part of the book was really well written. The second thing that I really liked about this book was that the action always moves forward. There's not really a lot of chance for the characters to just kind of sit around and talk and kind of be like stagnant, as some books that focus on relationships do. Sometimes you're kind of just like seeing the characters talk to each other for a really long time. And this has those moments, but I would say the action is always kind of falling forward, and I was never bored reading this. So I thought the pacing of this was really great. It really kept me flipping the pages, and it was a really easy thing to read very quickly. I also thought the writing flowed really well. Obviously, Helen Hoang has some good writing chops. And finally, what I think people will like the most about this is that it is a romance with depth. This was a little more serious than I was expecting it to be. While Kai being autistic is also a big part of the story, I felt like Esme was really the main character here, and if you read the book, you will understand why. There's a lot of issues in here revolving around immigrants and coming to America and the way in which outside countries also view America that I thought was really gently and delicately handled. And while I found this to be a much deeper romance than I was expecting, don't worry, if you're in it for the steamy sex scenes, there's those in here too. So those are still present, but I would say it's definitely more of a backdrop, which made it much more bearable for me to read because I don't really look for that in books. And so that was just kind of in the backdrop, but it's definitely not the main thing of this book. That being said, I did have a few problems with this book, and mostly small problems, but they were, I think, big enough to mention. Something that I think might turn people off to this book is the whole arranged marriage plot. It does make things feel a little bit contrived because they are just kind of pushed together and expected to like each other. And in that way, I did find it a little bit jarring that they just didn't know each other and then were forced to live together. And I did think there was a little bit of insta-love happening, and so I can see how that might turn off some readers, just the whole premise of the arranged marriage. It's one of those books that you do, I think, have to suspend your disbelief on that front if you really want to enjoy this. The second thing that I had a problem with was that Esme actually keeps a really big secret away from Kai for most of the book, and when it's revealed that she's been keeping that secret, there's not really any repercussions for her withholding the truth. And I just found that kind of weird. I was actually expecting there to be repercussions at the end. I thought that was going to be a big part of the story, but it's kind of like it just was okay with everyone and got swept under the rug. And so I didn't necessarily like that Esme was kind of keeping some really important things away from Kai and his family. So that I found just a little bit weird. And the final thing I'll say about this book is that I did think the ending was a little bit too conveniently wrapped up and was a little bit rushed, which was strange because I felt like most of the pacing of the book was really good until we got to the end, and suddenly things just start happening all at once, and it was a little bit alarming. It almost seemed like we didn't know how else to wrap things up, so we just wrapped them all up in one big event. And so to me, it did kind of come to a really abrupt halt. Again, it was like, and everyone lived happily ever after. And you know what? Maybe you want that in a book, and that's totally fine, because if this was a rom-com, it would totally work. If this was a movie, I thought that would have been perfect. That would have been a great way to end the movie. But in a book format, I had wanted a little bit more, especially because I thought it was doing such a great job up until the end. All things considered though, I was really happy that I picked this up because I think out of all of the romance books that I could try as kind of my first dive into romance, this was a really good option. It had some depth, the characters were well written, and the author was really thoughtful about how she did things and how she went about things. I thought that this book did a lot of things really well. So I decided to rate this book 4 out of 5 stars. I do recommend it. I think I would recommend it to people who can kind of get past some of those main issues that I had, and if you think that you might enjoy this book, I would highly recommend it. I'm very curious now to pick up the Kiss Quotient, and from what I understand, there's going to be a third companion novel, and I think I would definitely pick up that one too. I think Helen Hoang is someone that I will probably continue to follow. Let me know if you've read The Bride Test and what you thought about it, or if you're planning on picking it up. Thank you so much for watching my book review today, and I will see you in my next video sometime soon. Bye-bye.